A very good evening once again. Thank you for joining us for the 10 o'clock edition of the UBC News Tonight, this 30th day of November 2023. My name is Wadulo Mark Arnold, and without further ado, I'll let my producers bring in the headlines and we can start. In our headlines tonight, President Museveni guides the UIA on approval of investors. The Prime Minister Nabanja lauds UN agencies for supporting Uganda's development journey. 20 tons of food rot in OPM stores as mess is blamed onto the IGG. And for the first time ever, Uganda's cricket cranes qualify for the World Cup. Thank you for joining us. We now give you the news in detail. President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni has revealed that most of the problems that affect Ugandans are caused by leaders. According to the president, if leaders are transparent, many problems affecting the citizens would not be in existence. The president made these remarks today during the 4th anniversary celebrations of the Almighty Papa Elohim Church in Anyara, Kalaki district. The church, which was officially opened in 2019 by President Museveni, is headed by the Deputy Chief of Defense Forces, Lieutenant General Peter Elwelu. The president noted that ordinary people have their own problems like witchcraft, but if their leaders are straight and clear, all issues would be addressed. He therefore commended the Lieutenant General Elwelu for the interesting pillars of his religious efforts that involve ordinary people praying for their leaders for revival and salvation. The president also urged the people of Teso to fight poverty and create wealth through commercial agriculture like grazing cows, fruit farming, mainly mangoes and oranges, then cassava for both home consumption and selling, fishing and poultry.
Everybody come and worship. He's here and he's with us always. And this place, Your Excellency, is your house with him. Because on top of that house, it is his name. And then below there is inscribed your name.
I would like also to assure the people of Teso that in the areas which require further intervention from government, especially in service delivery, we, the leaders of this region, will continue pursuing, together with His Excellency the President, who we know has always listened to our voice. And we are sure that step by step, we will continue responding to the remaining challenges that we know we have as a region.
When we formed this third line or fourth line away from DP, which was for the Catholics, UPC, for the Protestants and some Muslims, Kawaka Yeka for the Baganda, we said no. For us, we are not after politics of identity. We are after politics of interests. What can help the people? That's how. So I find what General is saying interesting. Then his innovation that the wananchi should pray for the leaders. And the leaders were so many, they were almost as many as the people themselves. Is that all the problems are caused by the leaders. The corruption, the sectarianism, all of them are done mainly by the leaders. So that's very interesting. You should not, I found it very interesting because I know that's a fact. If the leaders are straight, so many problems will be solved. Yes, the people may have their own problems. They may have their own witchcraft and so on. But if the leaders are clear, even the other issues will be addressed.
President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni has tasked the Uganda Investment Authority to take keen interest while assessing investors before registering them. Now, during the inaugural Presidential Investors Conference, President Museveni underscored the need to first assess investors and creation of an easy linkage for all potential investors. Let's take a look.
Have a lot of need for us to explain the issues of taxes.
Uganda Investment Authority is the government agency mandated with promoting, facilitating investments and also assessing of potential investors. Apart from other documentations, the assessment also taken in consideration by the authority for domestic companies is a minimum threshold of $50,000, while foreign investors must exhibit a commitment of at least $250,000.
They are outsiders who have money there, but they are looking for opportunities here. Opportunities are what? Number one, raw materials. Number two, affordable labor. Number three, the market, this market here. So, what examples of FDI do we have here, foreign direct investment?
During the inaugural Presidential Investors Conference, both domestic and foreign investors got a chance to interact with the President.
Spoke of land in Namanvi. I thought that it's important for the investors to inform you that there is a lot of chaos when it comes to allocation and withdrawal of land in Namanvi. This particular investor is facing that problem right now, where we have people in Namanvi who have personalized their offices and have taken over the functions of bodies in the body, and when they do that, they withdraw the land without following procedures. I believe, Your Excellency...
I would like you come, I want to get that information. You come and talk to one of my people.
You gave me land, I found it was water. I used 100 million to feed the water. Then it started encouraged by big people. Hannah helped me to get it back. I had to put a perimeter wall, so all the money went in that.
In the interaction, different investors cited their different challenges, among which included double taxation, bureaucracy, poor infrastructure like roads, electricity supply and the costs. This was not limited to lack of market to absorb all their products amidst the competition from imports.
Harvesting problems with our farmers.
Okay.
We ask the government to sensitize our farmers, because I was doing it myself before COVID.
The food gets spoiled.
The food gets spoiled and they don't know, seriously, they don't know what to do.
President Yoweri Museveni tasked Uganda Investment Authority to take keen interest to assessing investors before registering them.
The what?
They get registered as companies, they get investment license, and then they go ahead and do the work.
They get registered where?
URSB, Uganda Registration Service Bureau. So they get all those certificates under the one-stop center.
Of UIA?
Under Uganda Investment Authority, Your Excellency.
He also tasked the authority to create a clear and easy linkage for investors.
Ekizibu nkwatagana. N'olwekyo njagala kukomenkereza olwaleero with a clearer nkwatagana.
Uganda is one of the countries with the most open terms and system of investment.
The Office of the Prime Minister, in partnership with the UN Independent System-Wide Evaluation Mechanism, is set to conduct a joint evaluation of the UN system in Uganda. The modalities for the joint evaluation were discussed in a seminar that took place at Mestil Hotel in Kampala, and it was presided over by the Prime Minister, Robina Nabanja. Details in this report.
The joint evaluation is aimed at providing evidence of the UN agency's contribution to Uganda's development agenda. The Prime Minister acknowledged the contribution of the UN system in Uganda to improve the living conditions of Ugandans through the Global Development Framework.
This seminar provides a timely platform for our reflection on the relevancy and effectiveness of the various systems, development efforts, and cooperation arrangements that the United Nations and its agencies have undertaken in Uganda over the time. The reflection on both the government and the UN interventions in the country is critical because, one, assessing progress and identifying areas for improvement, because we need to identify those areas that need improvement. These interventions are also critical for, two, enhancing accountability and transparency. Number three, for strengthening partnerships between the UN systems, the government of Uganda, and non-state actors.
The UN resident coordinator, Susan Namondo, pledged continued commitment to partner with the Uganda government to support the development effort.
I think the two key ones for me, I mean, they're all important, of course, but government ownership is key. We do not have our own plans. We buy into a government plan. And in fact, the naming of our key instrument now reflects that. We went from the UN Development Assistance Framework to now the UN Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework. We don't have a plan. So one of the strategic advantages of this evaluation is that it's not just giving us information about the UN, it's giving us information about this, the broader development frame.
Participants included representatives from the key government ministries, UN agencies, academia, and the civil society.
This relationship should be guided by strong country ownership, and that country ownership is determined by the quality of the plan. The plans we have in place, the manifestos, and the directives that come from His Excellency the President. If we have a clear country ownership, then the direction of the partners is also very clear, because those require that they respect and work within our plan.
The continued collaboration between the Uganda government and the UN agencies is required to support the country's development agenda. Doreen Nasasira.
Over 20 tons of food meant for vulnerable and disaster-prone people is getting rotten in OPM stores at Namamve. According to OPM stores manager Mugisha, this was caused by the failure to access the stores for 1 year since the investigators cordoned off the stores during the Karamoja Iron Sheet saga. Now, while inspecting the stores, the Prime Minister Robina Nabanja condemned the incident and pledged to forward the matter to Cabinet. A detailed report is here.
And two, I have also seen many tons of food getting wasted in the store. And I'm told this was because the investigators closed the stores with that food until when some of it expired. It's not good for human consumption. So the office of the Prime Minister has made a big loss in all of this. And so we shall communicate to Cabinet and see how we can handle this. As I speak now, the people of Karamoja want food. And many other disasters have happened across the country and people want food. But in the store, the food we have is not fit for human consumption.
20 metric tons of food, of maize flour, and 7.8 of beans. That's worth billions of shillings. It is very sad to see that our people there need food, and that's a lot of money. That food could serve them for another 2-3 months. But it's going to waste. It is rotten because the stores are being locked because of the ongoing investigation. you see the damage that the people who made the distribution of iron sheets has brought to the country. It has indirectly even led to the loss of too much food in the stores, billions of shillings. Yeah. Yeah. Too much.
Now, in our exclusive features, for many HIV/AIDS patients, dealing with negativity has become a daily ordeal. Despite some achievements in the fight against the disease, Uganda still has an uphill task to eradicate stigma and discrimination levied against patients. For Orishawa Dorcas, and not her real names, from Chiruhura district, who acquired the virus in 2009, she almost committed suicide as her own family members discriminated her to the extent of denying her food after disclosing to them her HIV status. This is her story.
For Orishawa Dorcas, not her real names, living positively for 14 years now has come with hard-to-explain challenges. Dorcas first learned of her status in 2009 after suffering endless illnesses. Life then spiraled out of control for the girl who had a vision for her family. Alone and frightened, Dorcas first developed self-stigma as she feared to tell her parents of the disease she had been diagnosed with. She says on the fateful day, upon reaching home, she called all family members for a meeting during which she disclosed her HIV status. The revelation was shocking to everyone.
Akakoko kasirimu omukeyitwa akakoko kasirimu nokagamba orwire oboshiwu borwire ngu tukwatereho nobo kiri omuntu.
By this time, she had started developing severe HIV and AIDS signs and symptoms. Denying her transport, Dorcas later managed to walk to Tasso Mbara Center, where she was immediately enrolled on medication. While these drugs require a balanced diet, at home she was being denied food, and sometimes she would be locked up in the house to bar her from being in the public. As the situation worsened at home, Dorcas decided to cry out to one of her cousin brothers who lived in Mbarara City at the time for rescue. At that moment, Dorcas had developed complications with her pancreas and needed to be operated on. Fortunately, her brother then offered to take her to Mulago Hospital in Kampala, where she was indeed operated on. But as she explains, she is overwhelmed with emotions. As she was steadily healing from the wounds, her rescuer left for greener pastures abroad. This sparked off fresh trauma and stigma that almost led her to committing suicide. Her cousin brother, before leaving, left a rented house in Mbarara City, where she is currently staying. While Dorcas now manages to access her drugs and frequent counseling, she has no food. She has tried looking for jobs, but majority continue to deny her opportunities upon revealing her HIV status. Dorcas says she doesn't regret running away from home in Kanyarieru, Kiruhura district. She says the decision saved her life. Psychologists describe stigma and discrimination as poison.
Stigma and discrimination, it's like self-poison. Yes, because you're taking it in. More particular, stigma comes from two fronts. There is that which comes from within you. You're self-stigmatizing. You feel you are not good enough. You know it shouldn't be you.
HIV stigma and discrimination affects the emotional well-being and mental health for the people living with HIV. Patients often internalize the stigma they experience and immediately start developing negative self-image.
Also, people fear to test because they know when the results come out, information will be given about them. Now, if people don't test, they will not access treatment. If they don't access treatment, they not live a healthy life, and two, transmission will continue. So all that is caused because of stigma.
As the country marks the World AIDS Day in Rakai district, the public has been asked to stop stigmatizing and discriminating against people living with HIV in a bid to end the spread of the virus.
The number of people who are already tested and told they're HIV positive, they decide not to come for the free, effective, easy to take HIV treatment that we have in the country now. The reason, they are shy, they are scared of being shamed, of people discovering they're HIV positive. So if we don't end stigma, it means that the HIV treatment models and the HIV prevention tools that we have, which use ARV drugs, they will not be embraced. We know very well that people who are taking the HIV treatment well no longer transmit HIV. So I call upon the community members. If we end stigma, that means all our brothers and sisters who are HIV positive will come freely for treatment. And if they are taking their treatment well, as prescribed by the doctor, the good news is that they will no longer transmit HIV.
Jovia. Ng'oyolekera ku lugendo luno olw'obulamu. Nkuwa ekirabo eky'amaanyi agatazizibwa. Amaanyi okulabibwa n'okuwulirwa mu mawanga ag'ewala ennyo. Okutuuka buli wamu nga yadde togenzeeyo. Ensi yonna ng'ekuli mu ngalo. Okutambula mu biseera n'okumanya buli kimu ekirina okumanyibwa. Jovia, kino kye kirabo kyange gy'oli.
Tewali kkubo ku ki ky'osobola okukola omukutu nnandameggwa ogwa MTN.
Metu Bus Industries, Namamve, the manufacturers of buses for transporters, schools, tour operators, and special purpose vans and any customized vehicle. Metu Bus Industries offers a range of buses known for safety, comfort, and reliability. Depending on your needs, a bus can simply be a point A to point B people mover with just seats, or a special design that includes power outlet, Wi-Fi, television, refreshment center, and any other specification. Buy your buses from Metu and support industrialization of Uganda. Contact us on 0788 118586 or 0782 030303. Email us metuafricabus@gmail.com. Visit our website www.metubusafrica.com.
Welcome back. You're still watching the UBC News, broadcasting live from Nile Avenue. Now, all districts will be given conditional grants from the central government starting next financial year to facilitate physical planning. The Minister of State for Urban Development, Obiga Kania, stressed that urbanization is growing at a faster rate and physical planning must be adhered to. Details in this report.
According to Uganda Bureau of Statistics, about 24.3% of the population is living in urban areas. Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development is now moving to ensure that legislative frameworks for fiscal planning are enforced.
Quite many times, our people go and build where they want, they cultivate where they want, they put houses where they want, and they interfere with the environment the way they want. But this is not planned. Now the national planning policy has now clearly specified the areas where what can be done, and even the agricultural crops which can be produced, the infrastructure which can be put in particular areas, and so forth.
Minister of State for Lands in charge of urban development, Opiga Kanya, highlights that Uganda is urbanizing at a faster rate of 5.2% per annum, necessitating proper planning for disaster risk reduction.
It means we now go to the cities, to the urban areas, and ultimately to the lower local governments, the districts, sub-counties, and so on. The aim is now to say, what can you do? For example, in a particular urban area, what kind of building can you put? What kind of building should you not put? And so forth. So where should the water pass? Where should the sewage pass?
The Acting Director of Fiscal Planning and Urban Development in the Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development, Vincent Viendaimira, has also confirmed that registration of fiscal planners will be mandatory.
In addition to the Fiscal Planning Act, this year we also got the Fiscal Planners Registration Act, which is a law which is regulating the practice of fiscal planning in Uganda. So that law also requires regulations, and that's why we are making these regulations to make sure that fiscal planners are now well regulated. So going forward in the future, you are going to see that fiscal planners, we will not expect any fiscal planner who acts in a way that is not acceptable will be dealt with according to the law.
Fiscal planning is critical in facilitating the provision of infrastructure, utilities and services. Adia Nakute, UBC.
Alebtong district has issued a 6-month ultimatum for all households in the district to construct a pit latrine. The pronouncement followed a shocking report by SNV, a non-government organization, that revealed over 13,000 people in Alebtong district practice open defecation.
A recent survey conducted by SNV, a non-governmental organization, revealed that 13,472 residents in Alebtong district are practicing open defecation. The report also revealed that 53.2% of the population have limited access to clean water. The district chairperson welcomed the report and made 5 pronouncements to deal with the crisis.
But all is not lost.
The pronouncements gave 1 month to all leaders and 6 months to households to install better toilet facilities. Sanitation anthem singing made compulsory for all schools in the district and the sub-counties to come up with bylaws to enforce these pronouncements.
Such that by June next year, we want the study to be done. And we see if we have made progress, I think the celebration is for all of us. But if there are no progress, we shall change strategy, because we cannot compromise the issue of sanitation. It is even there in the Bible, Deuteronomy chapter 12. So this is God's command, it's not my command.
A premises where there's no any toilet. You there living every day, you eating day and night, you drinking water day and night, but we will make sure that we handle both the tenants and also the landlord or the landlady. Maybe we will even close some shops.
According to the Ministry of Water and Environment, Northern Uganda is not doing well, with the open defecation still at 20.8%.
And at the moment we have data of all the villages in Uganda, including Alebtong, that does not have water. And so our team is moving in and ensure that the water reaches.
Every year, 19th November is marked as World Toilet Day to raise awareness on the importance of toilets to public health and sanitation. For Alebtong district, it was the beginning of a campaign to address the sanitation crisis.
And to ask our people, including ourselves, the leaders, to have toilets, not just toilets, but toilets which are of quality. Toilets which are basic.
5 sites were handed over for latrine construction as part of the efforts to improve sanitation.
Religious leaders, pray for those who still use the bush so that they can change.
In their different presentations at the event, pupils pleaded with their parents to stop going to the bush and erect latrines at home. Wadulo, UBC News.
The Uganda Scouts Association, in collaboration with Serena Heights Kazi Venture, is actively engaged in the development of a Scouts headquarters and sports arena at the Kazi camping ground in Wakiso district. We have a detailed report on this story.
Initiated in August, the 7 billion project is slated for completion in March 2024. During a recent inspection led by Colonel Richard Kamia, the commandant of Kazi camping ground, Susan Anek Ongom, chairperson of the National Scouts Council, emphasized the project's aim to enhance the financial sustainability of the Scouts fraternity.
The 10 acres here, we have down where we have the football field, with which a pavilion is going to be put there. Then we have the netball pitch, we have the volleyball, basketball, then there's the lawn tennis they're talking of. Then the next one is now the administrative block. The administrative block, we have the offices, we have the conference halls, we have the hotel rooms inside to help us whenever there's some small meetings.
Adding to this development, the Ministry of Works is concurrently establishing a marine rescue center at the same site. In a prior venture, the Uganda Scouts Association is set to host the upcoming East African Scouting Camp from December 9th to December 4th. The National Executive Commissioner of the Uganda Scouts Association, David Muledu, revealed that 8 countries, including Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, South Sudan, Burundi, Rwanda, DR Congo and Ethiopia will participate in the convention. With over 3,000 scouts and elders expected to attend, the event will be graced by the President.
The camp will start on the 9th of December 2023 and it will end on 14th December 2023. We have 8 countries that make up the zonal region of East Africa as far as scouting is concerned, but already 6 have confirmed. The aim of the camping, 1, we are trying to promote scouting within the region. 2, we are promoting what we are calling the East African integration.
The camp will feature various activities where scouts will showcase their talents, fostering unity and friendship among sister countries under the theme, Innovating the Next Steps, Scouts Survival.
Then for the scouts, it will be a competition, various levels. We have the ventures, these are youth of 14 above. Ventures both girls and boys. Then we have the junior. The junior had this, usually we take them people in primary schools, age below 14, but from 6. Below 6 are the cubs, but they are not coming for these competitions.
The event encourages every member to embrace innovation as a crucial aspect of their scouting journey. I'm Nafka Farida and Ganga Henry.
The first ever annual edition of the Refugee Students Alumni Career Trade Fair has ended at Lugogo Uma Showgrounds with various refugee students from various universities showcasing innovative products such as a way of forging a common platform to bring them together. Now, the United Nations High Commission for Refugees supported Window International Uganda in partnership with the Albert Einstein German Academic Refugee Initiative Fund that are behind the arrangement.
Alumni students from Democratic Republic of Congo, South Sudan, Somalia, Rwanda and Burundi have conducted their first ever annual edition Career Trade Fair at Lugogo Uma Showgrounds under the theme Investing in Refugee Youth for Self-Resilience. The United Nations High Commission for Refugees, Windle International Uganda, in partnership with the Albert Einstein German Academic Refugee Initiative Fund, are behind this innovation as a way of bringing the refugee alumni together.
Fair is to create a platform for our alumni, scholarship alumni, to network and also collaborate with professionals so that they are able to access employment and improve their livelihoods.
We are looking at investing in the refugee youth so that they can get their agency and also survive in countries like Uganda, but also the third country for resettlement.
Some of the participants representing the various refugee communities welcomed the move.
This trade fair will help us to reunite with our friends, and it will help us also to expose the talents that we had been able to achieve.
Being graduating, however, we wouldn't stress to know who is where. And that's one of the reasons why the Alumni Association was formed.
I want to appreciate the East African community. Recently we joined it, and we are now a member of the East African community, and we are the people who are business, always like the business, and we are gaining.
Some of the institutions participating in the program include Makerere University, University of Chisubi, Ndeje University, Bugema University and Uganda Christian University.
As a university, we partnered with Window International and URSC to give support to the refugee people, especially the Garo refugee.
The next editions will see the arrangement rotated in various regions with refugee communities.
In anticipation for the commemoration of World AIDS Day, celebrated every 1st December, our reporter Ivan Juko gathers a special story about the Kasensero landing site situated in the present-day Chotera district, where the first confirmed cases of HIV were reported, also dubbed the birthplace of HIV in the 1980s. It is believed that the victims, who were traders operating in the Kabanyaga market in Tanzania along the shores of Lake Victoria, contracted the virus, crossed and settled in Kasensero landing site in southern Uganda, then spread it to various parts of the country. After a period of 4 decades or so, we have learned that a lot has to be done in the stride to fight the AIDS epidemic, as men don't want to use condoms while women care less whether men use protective gear or not, and they only mind about getting money for survival. Here's the full story.
Back in the 1980s, more than 30 of Ugandans had contracted the HIV virus, and since then Uganda has been at the forefront of the fight against the virus, which has claimed millions of lives. In 1982, the first cases of slim disease, literally referred to as loss of weight, were identified in the then Rakai district, present-day Chotera. It was, however, not until 1985 that the disease was recognized as AIDS and has been a serious public health problem for Ugandans.
I recall the first cases of AIDS that I saw in Uganda. The very first person who died of AIDS that I knew of was my classmate. My classmate came down with a strange illness. He had a very severe headache and later on died of meningitis associated with HIV. You know, they get so small, so slim, they have diarrhea.
It's recorded that traders crossed forth and back from Uganda to Tanzania for business along Lake Victoria via Rukunyu Island to Kasensero, the epicenter of HIV/AIDS. We started our research story in the surrounding villages of Sekaningo Hill, where many families lost lives of their dear ones to HIV/AIDS. At Kachira village in Uganda division, we visited the ancestral home of the late Mary Namuli, which was abandoned, and next to it was the graveyard where she lay with her late father Freddy Kagambe Mulumba and her only child. Namuli, who returned home from Kabanyaga market, was the first to be tested for HIV, whose samples were flown into the United States but died suddenly in 1982.
Kasensero landing site was the first place in Uganda to get a positive HIV person. After diagnosis by RHSP. RHSP is the Raka Health Sciences program, which took, by then we had no testing reagents here in Uganda, and that blood had to be taken to America, then brought back with results being negative, positive.
The late Namuli is described as a pretty charming and nice-looking young woman who ventured in bar business at Kasensero landing site and slept around with a bunch of men. Our next destination was the homes of Costa Nalukwago, aged 83, and Wanulata Nakalanzi, both widows of the late Paulino Senchima, commonly known as Munyolo, who lost 7 children.
Naberanga munyikaavu munne nga sina kyakola kubanga bukati bwafa omubwe yafa nemmala omwezi n'omulala n'afa nengamba kiki kino kye tuliko nga mmaze okuwulira nti akawuka kakoze eki katabadde nange neŋŋuma nengamba Mukama gw'obimanyi byonna era gw'obitegeka sina kyakola.
Bango inako ebifaananyi by'abagenzi.
Ebifaananyi nabiyuza nali mbina naye nabiyuza nga saagala kubalabako.
Many people had no idea about the origin of the virus and what it was associated with the majority relating it to witchcraft.
Ati story emu gye baatugamba waliwo omukazi yajja n'ebisawo bya mukene ne babibba. Bwe babibba n'agamba buli eyakutteko bonna njagala balintuuka. Kati bano bwe balwala abasinga baali bamanyi nti nno bafudde mukene.
Olugambo singa bwali bubbi ebibaali badde baabirabadda ne biggwawo. Kituufu ekino badde nkikulekeddeyo omubiri gwakunkumukanga empumbu omutwe ne guvaamu evvu enviri ne zikuunyuka ne ziggwako. Kituufu naye nga bwali bulwadde.
Many of the fishermen contracted AIDS and died. However, Haji Senchima thought of an alternative remedy to save lives of his fellow fishermen.
Neba kanindowooza abantu bange bano abambulira nga banzigwako. Nga nawulidde bagamba waliyo bizinesi bagamba akola ku bantu ab'embuto emyezi 3 ne buno obulwadde tasobola bukolako. Nali manyimu okuba akaiso nimpita abavubi bange bonna ne bajja ngamba kuba eddagala.
Moses Mayombo has lived with HIV for more than a decade and now works with the rehabilitation agencies. He takes us through his experiences when he found out he was diagnosed with the virus.
Netandika okulwala bwe okulwala nno okw'amaanyi ennyo ne bantwala ekitovu ne bankebera ne maama w'abaana yaliwo kati bamubuulira tenina akawuka ka siriimu era nali neebase tulaba omuntu agenze tadda buzibye n'agendera ddala n'ayitira awo.
Some of the residents at the landing site who have managed to protect themselves from AIDS appreciated the leading partners for their efforts.
Nzira ku kyaliwo ne kino ekiriwo kati nyinza okuga nti tewali bulwadde. Kubanga luli wali tosobola kumala mwezi wadde ogumu wadde weeks nga toziise. Ne kati tumala n'emyaka. Gavumenti President Museveni agezezzaako nnyo. Njagala okwebaza Obwakabaka bwa Buganda.
However, there are still weaknesses in AIDS prevention among the youth.
Abamu bayize, abamu tebanayiga. Kubanga lwaki njogedde bwentyo. Empeke zino bwe zajja, oli bwazimira n'afuna amaanyi, ataddeyo n'asambagala, n'amanya nti mponye.
Habati Senyonga spearheads a campaign to fight against AIDS at Kasensero Health Center 3, says the prevalence rate of AIDS infections has dropped.
The interventions, like the PrEP and the PEP, HIV is somewhat reduced, but we have some hindering factors like the myth that once you use a condom, sex is not enjoyable.
For the sex workers who exchange their bodies for money, they don't care whether men use protectors. This is evident in a voice of a sex worker, recorded negotiating for sex in a lodge.
Chisingo maze.
Ate wetaba short. Wetaba short.
Mbalive. Alive.
Ate ebeddako o sentemeka je muta longo siyayo.
Longo chotegeza kusula. Kuba kwesa.
Esatu. Ate live. Here some people are proud of having unprotected sex with the sex workers.
Kwarali kuba mutete. Omutete gwe. Kati kukono mukale cheta na kutwala.
Ya batali mu kweralikirivu.
Aba kulideko bulina yenga amanye nti awamu.
Bwo bumanyi buyimiride butya.
Bwange bumanyi. Ndi mulamu. Ya.
Kati lwaki oba okemekerezebwa okubanga
nanti nze sikwatibwa.
The leadership at Kasensero Town Council is working hard to step up the awareness campaigns in the fight against AIDS.
Omwami wasanga alina obulwadde bwa sirimu ate n'awasa omukazi omuto tagala kumulaga mpeke. Omukyala waba nasirimu tebagala kwambala life guard kukendeza bulwadde bwa mukenenya.
Okugezaako okusomesa abantu ekitayinza kwebereka nti bagezeeko okukozesa kondom.
Our investigation report reveals women and girls during the day sell food and tea in kiosks and serve in bars and elsewhere in a casual manner, while at night they resort to prostitution. The number of discordant couples where one partner is HIV positive and the other negative still puzzles many. The battle to end HIV by 2030 remains a puzzle to many who opt to having an affair without the use of protectors, going for 5,000 Ugandan shillings. I'm Ivan Juko for UBC.
Ivan Drew call for that in-depth story about the prevalence of HIV and AIDS. Quite real, devastating. Anyways, let's take a short commercial break and we'll be back with more news.
Jovia. Ng'oyolekera ku lugendo luno olw'obulamu. Nkuwa ekirabo eky'amaanyi agatazizibwa. Amaanyi okulabibwa n'okuwulirwa mu mawanga ageewala ennyo. Okutuuka buli wamu nga yadde togenzeeyo. Ensi yonna ng'ekuli mu ngalo. Okutambula mu biseera n'okumanya buli kimu ekirina okumanyibwa. Jovia, kino kye kirabo kyange gy'oli.
Tewali kkubo ku ki ky'osobola okukola ku mukutu nnandameggwa ogwa MTN.
Prof Bio Research, winners of the Best East Africa Brand Award 2023, invites you for the 8th Great Sundowner Sentes Committee from 26 November to 2nd December 2023, full week blast. Keynote trainer, Omukenku Funyazi Julius, Chuma Chiwagala Chuma. Topics include Pampers and Vermiculite soil fertilizers production, mechanized banana juice production and preservation, Ganoderma mushroom cultivation, and castor plant cultivation, aloe vera gel and juice making, and castor oil making, bathing and herbal soap production, and matchbox making at Tukatorio Mall Hall Rooftop from 26 November to 2nd December 2023, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Entrance 100,000 shillings or book via mobile money on 0703 152 152. Buy a ticket at 100,000 shillings and get a free tray of saffron eggs, Ganoderma mushroom garden, and a training certificate.
The Uganda Bureau of Statistics, UBOS, wishes to inform the public that the launch of the National Population and Housing Census 2024 that was earlier planned for the 30th of November 2023 at Kololo Independence Grounds has been rescheduled due to unforeseen circumstances. A new date for the launch will be communicated soon. Any inconvenience caused is highly regretted. Signed by Chris N. Mukiza, the Executive Director, UBOS.
Banyeta ko Muhangi Donata, the chairperson wa group. I
am the chairperson of this group that got money. The group is called Kalsandala HIV/AIDS Craftswomen Group. UWEP gave us money in 2017 and they gave us 3.3 million Ugandan shillings. We used it in 1 year and got 23 million out of it. We do baskets and kitchen gardens, and we also have a saving group. We thank UWEP because this money helped us as women. Women can now educate their children and build houses because many of them are single mothers. We work without jealousy because we want to leave a legacy that even those who will be around tomorrow will appreciate.
Welcome back. You're still watching the UBC News Tonight, broadcasting live from Nile Avenue. In the world of business, Uganda Bureau of Statistics has released the annual Consumer Price Index for the year ended November 2023. The annual inflation has measured by the Consumer Price Index for the last 12 months to November 2023 is 2.6% compared to 2.4% registered in the year ended 2023 of October.
The annual core inflation was recorded at 2.0% in November 2023, the same rate recorded in October 2023. The main driver to the annual core inflation was the annual services inflation that increased to 2.8% in the year ending November 2023 compared to 2.2% registered in the year ended October 2023.
When you look at November and November, these are normally months that are pre the Christmas season. And members, you should bear with me that it's for some items, the prices can start rising as at the beginning of November. And for some items that are not maybe mainly needed, you realize that the prices are actually going down.
The highest inflation was registered in Fort Portal at 5.9% compared to the 4.7% that was recorded in October 2023. Jinjet District had the second highest inflation at 4.0% and October was 3.9%. Kampala's middle income group realized the lowest inflation at 1.3%.
Majorly, this was driven by the restaurants and accommodation services inflation that was registered at 3.7% in the year ended November, compared to 1.7% registered for the year ended in October 2023. And members would want to note that November has been a lucrative month for the region, for ginger. You remember we hosted in Nyege, people buy, and that's the reason we say that you should promote tourism.
The construction sector inflation increased to 2.2% in the year ending October 2023 compared to a 2.0% increase registered in the year ended September 2023. The construction materials whose inflation increased annually include insulated electric cables, among others.
Class demolition and site preparation prices increased under this category of specialized construction activities, and this is mainly driven by diesel. So we must note that the electrical plant B, we have a slowdown. Building completion and finishing, we have an increase, and the belief is that most of us are trying to renovate our houses as we prepare for the festive season.
Brian Tumwenebyaruhanga, UBC News.
And in sports, the Cricket Cranes Uganda men's national cricket team have qualified for the T20 World Cup for the first time. After finishing second with 10 points in ICC, Men's T20 World Cup Africa Qualifier 2023, that is. Now the team beat Rwanda by 9 wickets in their final game, played at Wanderers Cricket's grounds in Namibia, to finish with 5 wins out of the 6 matches at the qualifying T20 World Cup.
Coming off a much-needed 33 runs win against Kenya yesterday, the Cricket Cranes only had 1 win standing between them and their World Cup dream. The Cricket Cranes were determined to leave everything on the pitch for their chance to be in the 2024 World Cup. In their final game, played against Rwanda at the Wanderers Cricket Grounds in Windhoek, Namibia, the Cranes won the toss and chose to field fast, limiting Rwanda to 65 all-out in 18.5 overs. The second innings was a breeze for Uganda as the team chased the score in 8.1 overs, posting 66 runs for 1 wicket, winning the game by 9 wickets. This sent jubilations and celebrations in the Ugandan dugout. With this win, Uganda completes the tournament with 5 wins from 6 games and second place with 10 points, heading straight to the T20 World Cup. In the Rwanda game, Alpesh Ramjani with 2 wickets for 1 run in 3 overs and Simon Sesazi with 26 runs were the most outstanding players.
I was working hard towards this tournament, and personally for me it's amazing, like what I wanted to do with my own performance personally, and I want to win games for my team and with the ball and with the bat, and that's what I did. And I'm not satisfied yet. I want to do more for the national team. And
for the coach, who has been with the Cranes for a while, says this is not just a milestone but a chance to celebrate Ugandan cricket as they ask for more support to the game.
I think it's shown that with a little bit of support and with a little bit of effort towards invested in sport, there's rewards that can be reaped. You know, if there's some sort of legislation and support from the government, especially towards sport, and if we're very intentional about it, we can see that sport is not just a leisure activity, it can actually be a business.
History for the Cricket Cranes, history for cricket in Uganda, going to the T20 World Cup for the very first time. What a campaign it has been for the Cricket Cranes, starting off with Tanzania where they registered a win, going on to lose to Namibia in their second game, but then came up strong against their 4 opponents in their last games, winning all games and finishing second with 10 points on the 7-team table, joining Namibia to represent Africa in next year's World Cup. This has been a historical journey for the Cranes, but the work is not yet over. The boys will rest for 1 week before they go to defend their title at the Africa Cricket Association Cup in South Africa, and then embark on a journey to prepare to meet the big dogs in the T20 World Cup 2024. Grace Joyce Kemgisa, UBC News, Windhoek, Namibia.
Thank you, Joyce, and that brings us to the end of our 10 o'clock edition of the UBC News Tonight. My name is Wadulo Mark Arnold, and allow me to say thank you to the team behind the scenes. Good night.
UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Disabilities in Uganda every 5 years have not had access to adequate education, and this has been basically due to lack of assistive devices to enable them to get reasonable accommodation in schools. Mokisa Humanity and Inclusion Foundation is leading a campaign to fundraise for assistive devices for 500 children with disabilities to get in school in the year 2024. Join us to fundraise for braille machines, slates and styluses, white cane, braille paper, hearing aids, wheelchairs, audiobooks, book recorders, JAWS software, among others, on 10th December at Hotel Africana. Register your child with a disability by calling us on 0740 55 04 95 or 0783 91 11 14. Donations from well-wishers are also welcome. Entrance is 100,000, 150,000, 200,000, and a table goes for 1 million shillings. This is sponsored by UBC, Mokisa Inclusive Schools, Mokisa Nursery and Primary School, Herona Hospital, Msafiri Tours, and Molia Foundation.
In Uganda, the first case of AIDS was discovered in 1982 in Rakai district. But this disease was not recognized as AIDS until 1985 when prominent Ugandan medical scientists did the first diagnosis. On Friday, 1st December 2023, International AIDS Day will be commemorated under the national theme, Ending AIDS by 2030, keeping communities at the center. The President of the Republic of Uganda, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, will be the chief guest at the national commemorations of World AIDS Day at Chibali Playground in Rakai district.
UBC, inspiring Uganda.
The latest figures for HIV in the UK show that 6,660 people were newly infected and diagnosed with HIV in 2010. Although the number of people living with HIV in the UK is large and may actually reach the 100,000 mark next year. But also the number of people being infected abroad, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, has decreased. And so people coming to the UK from other countries, especially Africa, we're seeing less and less HIV infections already present in those people. The actual rate of infections is plateauing or even decreasing. So it's a mixed picture. It's still a serious condition, it's still something to be worried about, but people need to know that they can test, and if they test early enough before their immune system is damaged, and they go on the correct treatment, that they can live happy, healthy, productive lives. 1982, a man called Terry Higgins died of AIDS, and he's one of the first people in the UK to be diagnosed with AIDS, and the first person to actually die of AIDS. And his friend Martin Butler and his partner Rupert Whittaker were very concerned about his death and the lack of knowledge about AIDS and the lack of support services for people with AIDS. So they got together and formed a very small community group, which was based in somebody's bedroom. They didn't even have an office. They just had an extra phone line put in, so it was like a helpline where people could phone up and get advice and support. And they lobbied for improvements in healthcare and for money to be spent on research into AIDS, and for the British government to take AIDS seriously, because by that time, you know, a number of people were dying, and there was no idea really of what was causing the condition.
The National AIDS Council exists to facilitate and coordinate the national multi-sector response to HIV and AIDS in Zimbabwe. We established in 2000. Our mandate basically is to ensure that there's harmony in the programs to combat the spread of HIV infections, to provide for treatment for people living with HIV, as well as support services, including management and monitoring and evaluation. Zimbabwe has come a long way now, to the extent that we're one of the best cases of HIV prevention in the world. In fact, if you look at our situation before 2000, we were quite far behind in terms of prevalence, because it was over 26%. But over the years, we've been able to reduce it, and now we're just above 13%. So the best measure of the successes in HIV prevention would rather be the HIV incidence, which speaks to new cases of infection within a given time, as opposed to the maximum number of cases at a given time.
Terence Higgins Trust has a particular interest in certain countries in sub-Saharan Africa, like Zimbabwe. Now, in sub-Saharan Africa, after South Africa, Zimbabwe is the country that has the highest prevalence of HIV in the general population. Now, I believe that it's currently around 9% of the population in Zimbabwe are living with HIV, whether they know it or not. The situation in terms of the medical care available in Zimbabwe has improved quite radically in the last 10 years. And we believe about half the people who should be on treatment in Zimbabwe are now on treatment. But that still means half the population who are living with HIV in Zimbabwe are not on treatment. And we still believe that a lot of people are not coming forward for testing because there's still high levels of stigma and discrimination, and there's still ignorance and fear about HIV and AIDS. And that stops people coming forward for testing. So there have been improvements, and there's been a big investment in funding treatment in Africa, including Zimbabwe, from all sorts of countries, from developing countries and from developed countries in the West. There's been investment in money spent on HIV treatment, and that's why we're in a situation now where the level of the epidemic in Zimbabwe and other countries in sub-Saharan Africa is going down. So there is hope, and there is investment in treatment, and hopefully the picture will get better in the next decade.
I'm a white heterosexual 67-year-old guy that was first diagnosed in 2007. Been married 3 times. I have 5 children. Recently retired, well, 3 years been retired. Also changed my life around since being diagnosed HIV. I've met a different class of people, made better friends, and seem to have a more fulfilled life since becoming HIV. Maybe if I'd used a condom, yes, but because the people I was seeing were relatively my age, I didn't think I needed to, but HIV has no age barrier, so it goes without saying.